Festival gala, to be precise. In addition to language, it is song and dance. There are a little bit of acrobatics, magic, opera, kung fu, and other niche genres in between. And cabaret performances have always had a common problem. That is, watching from a TV screen and watching it live are two completely different experiences. Many singing and dancing scenes are very energetic. The movements are neat and uniform, and the actors perform very energetically. But once it is broadcast through the camera, many viewers will immediately feel bored and often choose to skip it. This situation is especially applicable to those who do not have a big star to support the singing and dancing, simply put, the evening dance. However, Micah's dance can break this inertia, and although the small screen viewing is not as strong as the impact of the scene, it is still intent. Obviously, how is it? This is the idol that mom and dad used to chase, see? The mother looked at her son, who had been stunned for 5 minutes, and asked ostentatiously while putting vegetables in his bowl. The son still did not wake up from the performance just now. The chopsticks in his hand were held in midair, and his mouth was slightly open. Just like that, the whole piece goes on. The energetic drum beats, the dynamic rhythms, the harmonious rhythms, and the perfect jams constantly echoed in his mind. It's normal. I was shocked when I watched it for the first time. Dad said with a smile. He's dancing so well. Better than Jay Chou's somersault? The son nodded. Although I don't understand the lyrics, the dance and stage effects are simply overwhelming, and the performance of Dragon Fist is simply a car accident scene compared to him. It should be said that all the other songs and dances are car accident scenes, or earthquake scenes, compared to this performance. Saying that, the son suddenly looked at his mother. Mom, if I want to learn to dance, I will learn this. Let your dad teach you. In the studio hall of the Spring Festival Gala, after the performance of Maiku, thunderous applause resounded throughout the audience. Even many veteran cadres can't help but sink into this never-before-seen form of performance. After the climax, like a man who has entered the time of a sage, most of the next shows have become boring, except for Golden Monkey Spring, brought by Lu Xilingtong. Looking at the dazzling monkey opera performance, that kind of vivid interpretation, it is indeed the first person in monkey opera, and many people have irreplaceable Monkey King Sun dashing in their hearts. Regarding the person of Lu Xilingtong, in the internet era, like many celebrities, word of mouth has also experienced a rollover. Especially at the funeral of director Yang Jie, the so-called mourning hall sold films, which instantly shattered the childhood filter of many people. This situation is especially serious at Station B, with a group of experts from 6 studies such as Dare to Ask Where the Film Is, as the communication center, and the clamor is the most fierce. When the incident came out, Eric was also caught in the middle of it and shouted a few words along with the fun. But then I came to my senses and decided to take the initiative to see the videos that were circulating, and after watching the original version, I found that I was tired. The video has obviously been edited and processed. The clothes are inconsistent, and the context of the speech is not cut, which is obviously malicious slander, and the journalism is very good. It is not only the problem of selling films in the morning hall, but also entering the journey to the West crew through the back door, and the 4 masters and apprentices going to Singapore to perform without Yang Jie's consent, etc. There are serious problems. He also bought Yang Jie's autobiography at that time, and found that the 2 autobiographies had completely different expressions on the same issue. To put it bluntly, an old lady of 70 or 80 years old asked others to write an autobiography through dictation, and it is normal that she can't remember many things clearly. Moreover, after the incident of selling films in the morning hall, Lu Xilingtong and Yang Jie's family members came and went as usual, and the relationship was still very good, and if there was a problem, the relationship would have been severed long ago. Later, some of their friends gradually found the truth of the incident by digging deep into the incident. After digging deeply, Dare to Ask Where the Film Is is actually a student who was ordered to drop out of school by misconduct, and the stage when he made the video was the most impoverished stage, and the sinister intentions were revealed. Netizens got a big melon, ate it very happily, and gave birth to countless famous stalks, but it was just a rabble that was used by people with intentions. Blindly followed, had no opinions, and was not even willing to go to the original film to watch, only indulging in the pleasure of whipping celebrities. Because of the large number of people and the fact that the law does not hold the people accountable, such people have never been punished in any way. The most unfortunate is the 6-year-old boy, and those who have a similar experience with him, who are speechless and can only endure in silence. After the performance of Golden Monkey in spring, Eric gave a warm applause, which can be regarded as an apology for the coaxing at that time. After a few shows, the time came to 12 o'clock, and the whole audience counted down together. The Spring Festival Gala is coming to an end. Ararang Group, Psychandrile, and others brought Spring Festival song, Wang Xia, Wei Song, and others sent shared happiness. Finally, everyone came to the stage to sing Unforgettable Tonight, and the Spring Festival Gala of the Year of the Monkey in 2004 came to an end. "Is it over?" asked my co as she looked at the performers who were gradually leaving the stage after singing. Eric nodded. "This is the last chorus. This is the end of it, let's hurry up." "What are you doing in such a hurry?" "I was told that there was also a fireworks display, so I had to watch it. It was beautiful." Eric got up with his hand, and if he didn't leave now, he wouldn't be able to leave for a while. But unfortunately, it backfired, and they didn't even go to the door of the studio hall, and the two were surrounded. To be precise, my co was surrounded, and no one came for Eric, and a group of people squeezed him out in a daze. They are all actors and audiences. They are not old Han, and they don't know Eric's identity. Maybe in the eyes of others, Eric is Micah's bodyguard, but this bodyguard is too thin and handsome. But no matter how handsome he is, he can't compare with the king of world pop who has just brought everyone an incomparable shocking enjoyment. "Maiku, sign me." "My button, let's take a group photo. You are really handsome." My button, look here, look at me here." Although most of them spoke Chinese, the battle-hardened my button still understood what they wanted, smiling and signing one by one. Jay Cho doesn't know how he came behind Eric. "Mr. Cooper, I still want to invite you to dinner, but depending on the situation, I'm afraid I won't have a chance." Eric shook his head slightly. They were lucky to be able to walk out in an hour. Sure enough, by the time the two left the TV station, it was already past 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. It's so welcoming. My co was open for almost 2 hours, but there were still quite a few people who wanted to approach him. In the end, there was really no way, so CCTV came up with a way. Simply gathered everyone together, took a group photo, and then recorded the people who participated in the photo, promising to send the photos to everyone later, and the two got out. As for the dinner, seeing that my co was exhausted, no one was embarrassed to mention it again. Back at the hotel, after taking a shower, Eric fell into a deep sleep. By the time he opened his eyes again, it was already past 9 o'clock in the morning. Pull back the curtains and let the sunlight into the room, feeling much more comfortable. Eric opened his phone and saw several text messages displayed on the screen. One of them was an unfamiliar number, and after clicking on it, it turned out to be sent by the director of CCTV. "Hello, Mr. Cooper, I'm Chen Quan, and I'm sending this text message to tell you good news. The ratings of the Spring Festival Gala have been counted, and the peak is when Mr. Michael Jackson performs. Please convey his good news." When I came to the restaurant, my buckle was eating here. He eats the tofu brain with fried purse that Eric recommended to him, and he is very good at eating chili peppers. "Maiku, if you eat so many chili peppers, won't you spoil your throat?" I heard that singers have a lot of taboos in order to maintain their throats. Maiku dug up a big spoonful of tofu brain and sucked it into his mouth. This soup is very delicious with chili peppers, very delicious, but I usually pay attention to it. Although I like to eat spicy, but I don't eat it often. And this fried food is also delicious, and it is even more delicious when paired together, but it looks big, which is not the same as the kind sold in Chinese restaurants. Because Chinese restaurants sell fried dough sticks, there are no eggs in them. Yes, there is no egg, and this is garlic. Why is it not spicy at all, but sweet? Eric looked at the salty garlic cloves in his hand, and he didn't know how to do it. Because it has been treated with a special technique, it is probably soaked in vinegar and I don't know. By the way, the good news is that last night's show was the overall viewers leader, almost 52%, and more than 600 million people watched your show at the same time. Hearing this number, even if he was used to seeing a big scene, he couldn't help but show a surprised expression. Oh my god, 600 million OMG. You mean 600 million? Yes, not 600 million people, not 60 million people, but 600 million people. After being stunned for a while, my came back to his senses. You said that the Spring Festival Gala is equivalent to the Super Bowl. It seems that it is much more powerful than the Super Bowl, so I suddenly became a big star in Huaxia? Wait, when I came to the restaurant just now, no wonder the waiter immediately asked for autographs. It turned out that they all watched last night's show. 600 million people, my god, it's unimaginable, and there are only 200 million people in the United States. After breakfast, the two prepared to climb the Great Wall as planned. Since it was the annual vacation, the Badaling Great Wall must have a huge flow of people, so Eric chose to go to the Juanla Great Wall. I thought it would be more convenient, but when I arrived at my destination, I found that there were quite a few people here. I just got out of the car and didn't walk a few steps, even though I was wearing sunglasses and a mask, but I was still recognized. Then it was a signed group photo, and I finally climbed up. Looking at the steep terrain under his feet, my couldn't help but sigh. It's as beautiful and spectacular as the photos on the internet. Is it really thousands of years old? Eric waved his hand. If you start with the earliest Great Wall, it has been more than 2,000 years since now, but after the fall of the Qin dynasty, the later dynasties also built the Great Wall. The history of this place under our feet, which is about 400 or 500 years away from now, has also been renovated in the middle, and it shows the splendid ancient culture of China. 400 or 500 years is also a long time. The United States has only been founded for more than 200 years now. China is really a beautiful and mysterious country. I like it very much. He played with my in Yanjing for a day, and in the evening he returned to the hotel to rest, while Eric had to have a meal with Lao Zhou and Lao Han in a private clubhouse box. The female director in her 30s, brought by Zhou Xiaopeng, was pouring wine for several people. In fact, the club provided a wine dispenser, but Lao Zhou was useless, so he brought a woman over to do this. After it was full, he raised his glass again. The second glass, we congratulate Lao Han on his promotion. This time the host has become an abbot and the future is bright. Boom! The crowd drank it all again. The female director filled up a few more people, and Zhou Xiaopeng raised his glass for the third time. The last cup is for Eric. This trip is settled, and MGM's film and television works will enter China in the future. A win-win situation. Boom! The third cup is stuffy again, and the picture is a deep feeling. After all, there are not many things in the world that are more emotional than the common good for human beings. Eric, Laochen didn't come because of something, but the optoelectronic side has already communicated with our Yanjing satellite TV, and the first TV series will fall on our station. What are your thoughts? What genre are you going to choose for the first play? Eric put down his chopsticks, and that was the point of tonight's meal. I think about it this way. In the past few years before I became MGM, the company's development was not going well, and there was no new drama. Forget about those old dramas. They can't keep up with the times. Now MGM has several new dramas, some of which have been produced and some are nearing completion, including political thrillers, doomsday survival, bizarre stories, thriller plots, etc. The doomsday you're talking about is The Walking Dead. Yes. Put this aside for the time being. The scale is too big. It's okay to put it on the internet. The TV station is a bit overstandard. How about the scale of the others? In terms of scale, House of Cards is a reflection of the election struggle in the United States. Hannibal is a prequel to The Silence of the Lambs. Evil Force has ghosts. Breaking Bad is forgotten, and the drug production is described. By the way, there's one plus about Evil Force. What? Liu Yifei participated in this drama. Who is Liu Yifei? Asked Lao Han casually. The female director explained it to him. A beautiful new generation actress has participated in your play, haha. Lao Han laughed teasingly while looking at Eric, and what he was thinking in his heart was self-evident. Han Dong, in short, she is still quite popular in Huaxia, especially after the broadcast of Dragon Babu. Wang Yuyan made her popularity directly rush to the domestic frontline. It's not just Liu Yifei's participation, and Evil Force also has an advantage. That is, there are ghosts but not scary, and the degree of fright may not be as good as Xiangjiang's zombie movies. Zhou Xiaoping thought about it. At this time, there is no rule that prohibits the formation of spirits, and ghosts are allowed to appear in TV series and movies. He slapped the table. That's it. That's it. After staying in Huaxia for a total of 4 days, Eric and my got on the return plane. I don't know who leaked the itinerary, but when they arrived at the airport, there were quite a few fans waiting. There are not only young people, but also many middle-aged people who can imagine that they have been exposed to music in the last century. In the face of these old fans, they must not be lazy, and they signed a group photo again, and they boarded the plane. It is conceivable that after this extremely successful performance, Huaxia will definitely set off a trend of imitating my buckle. Just like the global remembrance caused by his sudden death, countless young people became obsessed with Michael Jackson. Eric, the recording of The Voice of America is almost finished, and the next one is the finals. Won't you come and see it? I'm sorry, you've always been in charge of this matter, and I didn't have the time to let me know when it was recorded, and I will definitely be there. Eric said apologetically. Well, how can you say that? You are also a big boss? You should go over to cheer up. By the way, with regard to the 3 players you specifically mentioned, Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars, and Katy Perry, they have signed contracts. Signed so quickly. Didn't you say there was a problem? Taylor Swift had a problem, the other 2 didn't, and I had access to the little girl, who was a very assertive child, especially for her work and career. Actually, Taylor wanted to terminate the contract with the original company for a long time because she thought that her ability was enough to release an album, but RCA thought she was not enough, so she kept dragging it out, which caused Taylor's dissatisfaction. After agreeing to help her pay liquidated damages and release an album, both Taylor and Taylor's family chose to join May. All 3 of them made it to the finals? Yes, as long as you want one person to enter, he will definitely be able to enter. Not to mention that the singing skills of the 3 of them are not weak, and they are not bad compared to other contestants. So the choice is in the hands of the mentor, and the last one is Shailene, whose singing skills are also very good, but I haven't talked to him about signing a contract yet. Eric had a little impression of this Celine, and the last time my buckle talked about it, he said that this young man's rap was very distinctive. But it's a pity that he has never heard of rapping and he doesn't have rap songs in his stomach. And the most important thing is that he has no impression of this person, and there is a high probability that he will not become a well-known singer in the future. But thinking about how much I've changed when I crossed over, it doesn't hurt to let this kid try. There are always regrets about the lack of 3 and 1. Don't you say that his rap is good, just sign it, just don't announce it to the public yet. At least after the finals, let's announce the signing, so as not to be scolded shady. My buckle nodded. I understand, there is another thing, since The Voice started to promote, American Idol seems to understand that we are coming for it. So they responded, "Have you followed American Idol?" Eric shook his head a little ashamedly, thinking that he had to spend more time focusing on the development of the arts. American Idol actually bought the copyright of British Idol, but the latter probably didn't expect that the show would be so popular in the United States. There were 3 judges in the first season last year. Simon Cowell, he's a veteran musician. He's been in this industry for many years, and American Idol was able to do it, and he contributed a lot, and he will participate in the second season. Simon Cowell's man, Eric, knows that he is also a resident judge on Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent, and is known for his vipers. Eric met him through these variety shows and knew that this person was very capable. He also made a cameo appearance in last year's Scream 3 and was shot dead. In addition to Simon Cowell, the other 2 judges were Paula Abadou and my brother Randy Jackson. Paula Abadou used to work for me and Jenny, and we had her participation in the dance, and her ability was more reflected in the dance, but the singing career was relatively weak. Some time ago, Paula reached out to me, and after knowing the purpose of The Voice of America, she chose to quit the show and didn't want to be part of this competition. Surrender without a fight, Eric said casually. What? An old Chinese saying means that you can defeat the enemy without going to war. Meh. Ko smiled, but this is not necessarily a good thing, because Paula withdraws. There will definitely be someone to fill the place, and that person must not want to hear his name. Who is it? Emium. What? It's this guy. This little ruffian, little bastard. Looks like Fox did it on purpose. My co agreed. It must have been deliberate. They knew about my holiday with Emium, and they chose him to undoubtedly target me. And even though we defeated Mem and forced him off the album, he is still very popular among the younger group due to his outrageous style and presumptuous rhetoric, and teenagers love to brag the most. Finally, it's my brother Randy Jackson. Forget about him. I'm sure you've heard a lot of rumors. Eric sighed. The media has long reported on my co's family situation, and many things are semi-public, and fans know it clearly. For example, his scumbag father, who smashed his head with an iron and treated him as such cash cow, so my Buckle's childhood was unfortunate. He even openly expressed his dislike for his father, and being able to make a person of his character say such things shows how much he hates his father. Then there are 4 brothers, who had a good relationship when they first debuted, but after a long time, interests finally prevailed over family affection. Especially after my Buckle flew solo, he became a world superstar, but the 4 brothers were lonely, and their popularity plummeted. But in their eyes, without the original combination, there would be no future glory of Maiku, so Maiku should help them. Cold-blooded, disregarding family affection, and ignoring family have become common words they use to criticize Maiku, and jealousy and redness fill the eyes of these brothers. Especially at the 2001 Five Brothers concert. The reason why his 4 brothers came was not because of their feelings, but because they were paid money and employment relationship. It's obviously a blood relative, but the relationship has reached such a bad point. Sister Toya Jackson is also a white-eyed wolf, and after the 1993 child molestation case broke out, Toya Jackson actually slandered her brother, and the boy did have a relationship. My sister backstabbed herself, and that feeling was absolutely uncomfortable. Although it was later clarified that it was Toya Jackson's husband who forced her to say this for money, it was still too much. Moreover, after my co's death, Toya Jackson's blood-steamed buns were called a joy, and she had a sense of existence every once in a while, and she fell out with Paris because of her heritage. It is a disaster to have such brothers and sisters on the stall. In the entire Jackson family, the only one who has a good relationship with my Buckle is the little sister Jenny Jackson. Jenny was able to quickly become popular all over the world after her debut, which was inseparable from the help of my Buckle, and the stage styles of the 2 were relatively similar. After my coup died, it was Jenny who helped him pay off some of his debts during his lifetime, helping to pay for funeral expenses, etc. So when Eric was planning the sound, the first thing that came to mind was Jenny, what the other bastards were. Randy Jackson, he didn't say anything nasty to you. My co shook his head, obviously not wanting to mention the other party. In addition to the 3 judges, in response to The Voice, American Idol made an adaptation and added a permanent judge. Who is it this time? Justin Timberlake. He has been very popular in recent years, and he is in a first-class position among the new generation, especially after his relationship with Britney Spears was exposed. His popularity has skyrocketed, although he broke up later. Do you know him? Eric's pupils shrank. Wait, you mean Justin Timberlake, right? Seeing that Eric's reaction was wrong, Mikan asked a little strangely, yes, what's wrong? He's a big problem. He's not a good person. He's not a good person. He's not an ordinary scumbag. My buckle was even more puzzled. Where did you hear the news? Justin feels very good. His public image has always been good, and he belongs to that kind of innocent big boy. I don't know my heart, my buckle. Some people are very good at disguise, but I know some inside information. Tell me about it. It's rare to gossip. Britney Spears, she used to have an abortion for Justin Timberlake. The opening lightning struck, and a word shook my buckle. What? You heard it right, it's true. Justin Timberlake was Britney's first love, her first real boyfriend, and she loved him for his madness. But the 2 young men apparently didn't do a good job of protection, which led to Britney's pregnancy. Britney wants to keep this child and wants to marry Justin Timberlake. After all, the relationship is what she announced, and she is more active in the relationship. But Justin Timberlake didn't want to be responsible, and he apparently didn't want to take on his father's responsibilities too soon, so he asked Britney to have an abortion. This girl who is stunned by love stupidly agreed, but they are stars, and they can't go to the hospital for secrecy, so they can only take measures themselves. So Britney took the pills, and she rolled in the bathroom in pain and wailed. And then the wonderful came. Justin Timberlake actually sang in front of her with a guitar. I don't know if he thought it would relieve the woman's pain. This kind of man who is not responsible may think that playing the guitar will be very handsome, and may think that this will reduce his sin, which is really funny and narcissistic. My co was stunned by this big melon, and his face was incredulous. Eric, why do you know so much and who told you? A very close relationship with Britney. The 2 of them are good enough to wear a dress and sleep in a bed. In short, this is absolutely true. It's not over yet. Didn't they break up in 2002? I remember Justin Timberlake came out with a song to express his feelings, right? Cry Me a River, you mean this song? Yes, that's it. Justin Timberlake deliberately found a girl similar to Britney to shoot a MV, portrayed himself as a victim, accused the woman of cheating, but never mentioned abortion. His skin is not ordinarily thick. And it was actually Justin who really cheated, and he cheated on Britney no less than 5 times during his relationship with Britney. OMG. My buckle was extremely surprised. If these things were exposed, they would definitely hammer Justin Timberlake to death, and there would be no place to bury him. And the reason why Eric knows so clearly is, of course, because Lazy and I said it herself. Although she is known as the sweetheart, she is really miserable. Controlled by a perverted father, backstabbed by a man, and even a big star didn't have her first iPad until 2021. Her life was completely restricted and free, just a money-making machine. After Lazy Knee's matter was exposed, it caused an uproar around the world, and many fans were upset. And after being freed, Lazy and I also began to tell the past, including Justin Timberlake's garbage. This guy instantly topped the list of the most disgusted male stars in the United States, and he deserves this honor. And how did Justin Timberlake respond? He responded to a fart, directly chose to die, closed social comments, deleted past posts, and hoped to pass the test by pretending to be deaf and dumb. but it was clear that people didn't want to let him go. By the time Justin Timberlake released a new album 6 years after a hiatus, the title track, Selfish, rushed to number 3 on the iTunes charts. Just when he was complacent, another song of the same name, Selfish, rushed directly to the top of the chart. And the singer of this Selfish is Lazy and I, which is Lazy Me's old work more than 10 years ago, which is the whipping of fans and the public against Justin Timberlake. But at this point, Justin Timberlake still didn't apologize and publicly declared at the fan concert that he did nothing wrong and would never apologize. This is a scumbag with an extremely corrupt character, and how many disgusting things have been done behind his back, and he has not been exposed. Eric, you're not going to make a fuss about this, are you? Micah's gaze was a little solemn. Eric knew what he was worried about, but exposing it would definitely have serious consequences for Britney, and she couldn't do it without her consent. He shook his head. I'm just talking about it. I don't have this kind of consideration for the time being. That's okay. Wait, I suddenly remembered one thing. Jenny told me the other day that she received an invitation to this year's Super Bowl halftime show, which was to sing with Justin Timberlake, and I heard you talk about it. Will there be a problem working with him? McClin mentions the Super Bowl, and Eric is suddenly alarmed. Damn. Justin Timberlake is the two women I'm most sorry for, except for Lazy and I, is Jenny Jackson. I've been so busy lately that I forgot about the Super Bowl incident, but luckily Mylock reminded me. Otherwise, when the matter is released, it will definitely have a serious impact on the Voice of America. Don't worry, as long as you pay attention to precautions, you will be fine. Justin Timberlake, before the bad things he did were exposed, was a super boy who was sought after by tens of thousands of people and was known as Boss John Huaxia. Because he is a person with a sense of business, he has invested in many industries such as clothing, golf, and catering, and has made a lot of money. But since the incident was exposed, he immediately became a scumbag beaten by thousands of people and became the garbage spurned by the whole world. And the worst woman he killed was Britney Spears alone, and almost everyone who fell in love with him didn't end well. Jenny Jackson only worked with him once, and his murderous career plummeted and his popularity hit rock bottom. The 2004 Super Bowl halftime show performance specially invited diva-level Jenny Jackson and popular student Justin to cooperate. But at the end of the show, Justin Timberlake suddenly ripped off Jenny's clothes, causing Jenny's right breast to be exposed in the camera. Even if the director hurriedly cut the camera, the picture was still seen by more than 80 million viewers. You must know that the Super Bowl is universal, and the audience includes a large number of underage and children under the age of 10. Although a breast-revealing picture will not have a bad effect on a person's mental state, not to mention that the duration of that shot is very short. But it's still a serious broadcast accident, and who made you a public figure? Who made you a big star? You have to take that responsibility. After the show, Major League Football, broadcaster CBS, and producer MTV all received a flood of complaints. The FBI launched an investigation into the incident, and angry viewers went straight to the lawsuit to demand sky-high moral damages. As the two centers of the incident, Jenny publicly apologized in front of the media, saying that it was an accident. She didn't expect the corset to be torn, she didn't intend to hype herself up by nakedness, and she didn't want to be sorry for anyone. And Justin Timberlake still carried forward his fine tradition, playing dead and caring about him. He didn't admit that it was his responsibility, but said that he was careless at the time, he was too excited to sing, etc., and used vague words to shirk responsibility. In an instant, the media and the public pointed the finger at Jenny Jackson, who made you apologize. If you don't apologize, everyone can only regard all participants as responsible, but others don't apologize. Only you apologize, then you are responsible. Otherwise, you are not responsible. What a point to apologize. Knock down someone. It wasn't you who hit it. What kind of strength do you support? But in a later interview, Jenny said that she was coerced into apologizing because she was about to release a new album. The management team, Record companies and other stakeholders hope that the situation will calm down quickly, forcing her to apologize and ask for forgiveness quickly, so as not to affect the release of the album. This decision is obviously very wrong, and it is exactly the same as the child molestation case in 1993. At that time, it was also the brokerage team and the Chandler family who reached a settlement agreement, and Michaud was touring abroad at the time, and when he came back, he found that the wood was already in the boat, and everyone around him was persuading him not to affect his career for the sake of the lawsuit, so he could only give money privately, and his eldest sister Toya also backstabbed him. After Jennie apologized, the Grammys, MTV, etc. wanted to ban her, saying that she had to take full responsibility and pick herself clean one by one. And it is rumored that after the incident, Justin went to MTV and CBS in private, found the heads of the two companies to apologize in person, cried bitterly, and obtained understanding. And Jennie didn't go, so the finger was all at her. This incident caused Jennie Jackson's career to plummet, and she was originally known as the Four Divas along with Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, and Madonna. After entering the millennium, the record industry as a whole was sluggish, and the sales of the other three people all fell a lot. Only Jennie continued to maintain the advantage, but after this incident, she fell behind instantly. And Justin Timberlake was not affected, but took advantage of this to gain popularity. The truth of the Super Bowl incident is no longer verifiable. Was it an accident or intentional? Who designed the corset pulling? Is Jennie absolutely innocent? Is Justin a victim? But Justin apologized to Jennie for the incident more than 10 years later. If it has nothing to do with you, why do you apologize? If you're adamant that you're not wrong, why apologize? And being coerced? Even at worst, Jennie and Justin orchestrated the event. So, should Justin stand up like a man? His appearance as a shrunken turtle is clearly to evade responsibility, and this person's character is corrupt. Now that Eric knows, he has to prepare for the worst and treat it as if it happened. At this time, it is obviously impossible to persuade Jennie to quit the Super Bowl, and the contract is signed. Can only be vaccinated in advance, don't really have an accident at that time. The voice will definitely be squirted out, and it will lose before the competition starts. The second week of Saw 2 came out, and North America fell 53%. A little more, to a box office of $25 million. Some overseas countries began to be released, winning $21 million at the box office, and the global box office is about to exceed $100 million. The box office hit naturally drove MGM's stock price, which rose another 2.23% to about $11.6 billion, which is very close to the 20th Century Fox in front of it. As long as there is another hit or a few profitable works, surpassing Fox is a certainty. As for the competitor Dead Silence, it has been swept into the trash. Like Saw 2, Dead Silence has also begun to be released overseas gradually, but unfortunately, the overseas box office is as bad as North America. Any movie has certain limitations. Just like martial arts movies can't go out of Asia, European and American horror films can only be eaten in Europe and the United States, and Japanese, Korean, and Thai horror films are spread in Asia. Therefore, American audiences do not recognize Dead Silence, and it is the same in Europe and South America, and the similarity of cultures leads to the same starting point for examining a movie, and they all think it is bad. Judging from the current overseas box office trend, Dead Silence can collect more than 10 million yuan, and analysts predict that the global box office of this film will be difficult to exceed $40 million, and Lionsgate will lose money, so it can only hope for the DVD market. At the same time, YouTube's growth momentum is very gratifying, and it can still attract tens of thousands of registered users every day after the peak. The influence of shoulder dance continues to spread, not only in Europe and the United States, but also in Asia. In Howard Hughes's words, it's like a whirlwind that can't be stopped. The funny music short film, PPAP, Shot by My Buckle, was also officially launched on the market a few days ago. As expected, the funny videos were just as entertaining even after a dozen years, and PPAP went viral quickly. Since only the first half of the song was captured, the difficulty of imitation is very low, far worse than shoulder dance, and a video of imitation appeared on YouTube as soon as it was released. With exaggerated movements and magical expressions, coupled with simple and catchy lyrics, the Japanese-American named Yamanaka suddenly became popular. There have been clubs, bars, and talk shows that have invited him to the stage, but unfortunately the copyright of the song belongs to YouTube, not to him personally, so he has no right to sing. For this reason, Yamanaka specially applied to YouTube, and the company did not embarrass him and chose to authorize. He made 82% of his profits from engaging in any PPAP-related activities, 82% from YouTube, and 2% from the mountains. Don't be too little. 2 achievements are enough for you to eat and drink. After all, you are just a little-known performer. You didn't participate in the creation, you didn't participate in the recording, you didn't participate in the promotion. What else does a wage earner want? Without you in the mountains, there will be Nara, and there will be Autumn Road. Take 20% is already God's gift and favor. Kneel and thank you. Beverly Hills, Nico's home. Jenny, as I expected, your cooking skills are really good, not inferior to those Michelin chefs at all. Eric eats vegetables while touting one of his future mothers-in-law. Chefs like to be complimented on their cooking, and Jenny happily cuts another steak for Eric. Eric, it's been such a pleasure to communicate with you. Nico's dad rarely compliments me. He only eats, sits on the couch and watches TV when he's full, or goes to the study to read. It's normal, Jenny. Anthony has enjoyed your good craft for decades. He has become accustomed to it, and I think he must have complimented you a lot when he was younger. Nico agrees. Yes, I remember when I was a teenager, my dad used to compliment you on your beauty. He's stupid at reading books, studying psychology all day long, and applying all the research results to others, so he should study my psychology more. Eric, listen to Nico. Your parents have been in a good relationship for decades. Eric nodded slightly. Yes, the two of them rarely quarrel, at least in my memory. My parents got married when they were about 30 years old, and by that time they were mature and understood what they wanted. So when they found each other, they lived happily ever after, and of course, they both had good personalities and tempers, and that's the main reason. Jenny looked pleased. It's really not easy to see such a couple in Hollywood and the entertainment industry. Your parents are lucky to fall in love, and it's even more fortunate to have an excellent son like you. Jenny's words are really not casual compliments. The chaos in the entertainment industry is well known, and the chaos in Hollywood is even more world famous. One of the representative figures is Elizabeth Taylor. Although this aunt is a good friend of my buckle, but her emotional life is also unusual. When many people talk about the worst movie, they will immediately think of Cleopatra, which started filming in 1960 and cost about $44 million before and after, which is about $500 million when converted into inflation and other factors. The final box office was about $20 million, which was worse than Wind Talker, and Captain Marvel 2 was just a small piece compared to it. And one of the reasons why the movie lost so much was that it was boycotted, because Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton got involved, and they were both married at the time. The news was instantly on the global hot search, and even the Vatican came forward to criticize their style of life, and the two of them were spurned for this. And the movie was also unlucky. But this cheating is just a small episode for Elizabeth Taylor, who has been through 8 marriages in her life, and it is like a joke. Many of them are married and cheating, being a junior and robbing men. The brand 8 leaving the family appeared too late. Otherwise, she should be invited to endorse. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt are also classic cheating couples. Madonna and her husbands and Kim Kardashian are really a game. In this Vanity Fair, growing old together is almost in vain, and there are not many people like Eric's parents who can maintain a happy marriage for decades. However, Eric is 100% trusting of his mother, a devout believer, but he is skeptical of his father, thinking that the other party must have had an affair. For example, he always felt that the relationship between his father and Susan was extraordinary, but the old guy handled it very well and found no clues. The guests and hosts enjoyed the meal, and Jenny was amused by Eric and happily went to clean up the mess. Flim, Eric Cooper, you don't know how many women you fooled. Nico poked her finger at Eric, but was bitten by the other party, and then stopped her by the waist and picked her up. Oh, wait, don't do that. My mom can see it. If you see it, you can see it. Doesn't she know everything? Knowing your size, she only knows that I have a crush on you, but she doesn't know that the two of us have been secretly doing it for a year. Hearing this, Eric suddenly felt a little in a trance. It had been a year, and before he knew it, the two had been together for a year, and time passed so fast. He walked to the bathroom with Nico in his arms. You can't see it here. No, do you think everyone else is stupid? Seeing the two of us disappear together, my mother knew that she must not have done anything good. Baby, I'm almost dying of you in Huaxia these days. You have to help me. It's strange to believe you. No one cares there. You don't know how much fun you have. Take your hands away and don't touch me. Nico's capture and the two kissed each other, and her resistance began to wane. The land had not been irrigated for several days, and Nico soon began to run out of breath. The villa is warm, and the clothes are not thick. Eric pushed up, and the off-white thread was rolled up. This lingerie color, sassy. Wait, it's really not good, dear. It's so embarrassing. Oops. Eric, you guy. What's wrong with me? Come on in. We have to do it quickly. Yes. When Eric left, he said goodbye to the smiling Jenny and did not notice anything unusual on the other person's face. After he left, Jenny immediately glared at Nico. Girl, you seem to be a little forgetful, and even in your own home, you are too bold. At least you should take care of my existence. Sorry, Mom. Nico turned her head in embarrassment. And the situation doesn't seem to be quite the same as what you said. It's not so simple as a good feeling. What is the relationship between the two of you? Tell me honestly. After Nico finished explaining, Jenny sighed. Daughter, you have chosen a difficult path. I know. Actually, I don't understand too much. Do you think you two will really have a result? I don't know, but I hope there will be. Nico, is Eric really nice to you? Except that his mouth is sweet. He gave me a 1% stake. What? On the eve of MGM's listing, he gave me 1% of the shares, which are now worth more than 100 million. Jenny took a step back. Well, when I didn't say anything, I wish you all happiness. Oh, don't be like that, Mom. Do you have any good advice? Jenny pondered for a moment. I can only think of one step. Speak quickly. Kid. Eric, thank you for everything you've done for me. I'm so touched in my heart. In Eric's arms, Lu Yifei lay on his chest and muttered, with a smile on her face and a happy look. It's nothing, it's all I should do for you. Eric pinched her delicate chin, her almost 17-year-old face covered in collagen. Being young is an advantage, and if you pay attention to maintenance, the skin of yellow people is naturally better than that of white people. Therefore, Lu Yifei's skin is better than the Olsen sisters and Godot of the same age, both in terms of smoothness and elasticity, which is one of the reasons why Eric loves her. But there are also strange things. Nico is obviously over 35 years old, but her skin is still amazing, no worse than Lu Yifei. In this aspect alone, Theron and Lu Xiaoli are not as good as Nico, and they are weaker than several young girls. This is not something that can be achieved by maintenance alone. It is a gift. No wonder she was white and scary when she was young, not covered. After Huaxia and Zhou Xiaopeng negotiated the introduction of evil force in the first drama, Eric gave an order to the crew before the filming was finished. Change the script, immediately change the script, and add drama to Louis Fei. Since she is going to be operated as a selling point this time, a small role that will be offline in 1 or 2 episodes obviously can't arouse the interest of Chinese audiences, so let's change it to a resident role first. When it was promoted, it was Liu Yifei's first American drama. She was very popular, and her fan base among young audiences was very good. As long as the interest of this group of people is mobilized, not to mention anything else, at least the basic market can be preserved, and the ratings will not be ugly. Liu Yifei's role has actually been filmed, but after getting the news, the mother and daughter are still very happy. Almost all the actors like to have more scenes, and they immediately flew to Los Angeles. Eric, do you think people will hate me? What? Who would hate you? You're so beautiful. Who would hate a little beauty? Ha ha ha, don't tickle me. I mean, all of a sudden, I have read all the scripts. Almost every episode will appear, and I am not a fool, which not only squeezes the resources of other actors, but also many of the previous scenes have to be res hot, and someone must scold me. Eric peeled off a petal of orange and fed it to her. What are you scolding? Resource coffee? Going through the back door? Nepotism? Who wants to scold them well? This is the normal ecology of society. Actually, when I was filming the first part of the scene, I felt that some people in the crew were not friendly to me, probably because of my skin color. Knowing what she was thinking, Eric couldn't help but sigh. Being protected by Lu Xiaoli was too good, and the little girl was still a little simple. Crystal Spirit, I can guarantee that your worries are unfounded. Absolutely no one will dare to give you a look. Everyone will smile at you. How do you know? Eric said, because I have this power, whoever disobeys me will make him lose his job immediately. I feel that I suddenly have a taste of a domineering president, although it smells earthy, but that's when I watch others pretend to be forced. If I am a domineering president, I feel pretty cool. A little girl like Liu Yifei is naturally the most unable to resist this kind of character, and little stars suddenly popped up in her eyes. Thinking about the future that Eric had planned for herself, she couldn't help but drill into his arms. At this moment, in the hotel, the two of them had a secret private meeting behind Lu Xiaoli's back, smelling the seductive girl's body fragrance in their noses. Eric suddenly felt a little uneasy. In his previous life, Liu Yifei was a few years older than himself, and his early debut was one of his childhood memories. I believe that many people have had the fantasy of a profongzé, but he sleeps at most on the periphery of the 18th line, and the group performers sleep the most. Not to mention first-line female stars, even third- and fourth-tier stars can't sleep on their turn. Even his third uncle, although he is already a director, he still can't sleep with big stars. Only those famous big directors have this qualification. And now that the opportunity is in front of you, do you want to eat her directly? Since she is over 16 years old and is an American citizen, although she is not yet a minor, it is not a big problem. Soon, evil thoughts spread in Eric's mind, and his big hands began to grope for Liu Yifei. Beside her, she felt strange, even through her clothes. Liu Yifei still shivered sensitively, and that feeling had never appeared. What's wrong? You shudder, Crystal. Is there a problem? If there's a problem I can stop. You know I'm not a strong person. Liu Yifei snorted, thinking that if she used force, she would have been eaten and wiped clean when she was in Huaxia. She immediately closed her eyes and said nothing. Seeing that she was silent, looking like she was being picked, Eric understood in his heart. If you don't speak, you are acquiescing, and you can do whatever you want. Eric had no scruples, and with a slight force in his hand, he had already flipped the girl over on the bed. The mouth was imprinted, and the two began to kiss. After a few kisses, Eric was no longer satisfied and moved on to the next step. Soon, the blouse was pushed to the neck. Although the steamed bun is not big, it is delicate and lovely. Ying can fill the palm of his hand with a single hand, and Eric swallows it in one gulp. The body trembled violently again. Lu Yifei closed her eyes tightly, her brows furrowed slightly, but she still didn't stop it. A beautiful breath wafted in the air, and the intermittent seclusion filled the atmosphere with aphrodisiac information. Eric went all the way down, across her lower abdomen, and gradually made his way deeper. Crystal Spirit, do you want to continue? Eric asked one last question. In response to him was a soft mum word. Well, I'm coming.
HMM bang, bang bang.
Just as he was about to unlock the last barrier, there was a sudden loud knock on the door. Damn, who's knocking on the door? Yelled Eric with some exasperation. Fifi, Eric, are you inside? Oh, it's my mother, it's my mother. How did she find it? Hearing this familiar voice, Lu Yifei suddenly lost her face. SHHHH. But one of his shouts just now had clearly revealed his existence. You too must be inside. Don't play dead. Open the door for me. I hear you, Eric. Open the door. What should I do? What should I do? Mom will be angry when she sees us like this. Eric kissed it, and a few seconds later, the panicked Lu Yifei regained her composure. Scratching her nose, Eric motioned for her to get dressed. She definitely couldn't do it today. When I opened the door, I saw Lu Xiaoli, who was anxious and angry, standing there. When she saw her daughter, she was about to rush into the room, but Eric stretched out his arm to cover the door. What do you want to do? It's not like you're going to hit someone, is it? Lu Xiaoli glared at him. You don't need to care, Fei Fei, you come out. Seeing that her mother was really angry, Lu Yifei hid behind Eric and didn't dare to move. She hadn't seen Lu Xiaoli so angry for a long time. Don't embarrass Crystal. Go into the house, lest you be laughed at. Seeing that an outsider came to the corridor to check the situation, Eric let Lu Xiaoli in first. Say, what are you two doing here? I didn't do anything, just talk and talk. I didn't ask you, and you won't tell the truth. You come to answer Fei Fei. Lu Yifei lowered her head. Eric is right. He really didn't do anything, mother. Lonely men and widows in the same room. Do you think I'll believe it? Saying that, Lu Xiaoli pointed to the messy bed and continued, You show me. The sheets are crumpled, and the cat has gone to the bed, right? Fei Fei, you never lie to your mother. Tell me honestly, have you ever done it? Do what? Nonsense. What else can I do? Have you broken the bottom line? Answering this kind of question in front of Eric made Lu Yifei a little shy, and she stomped her feet a little angrily. Mom, I said no. We really didn't do anything. Lu Xiaoli's eyes revealed a sense of disbelief. She didn't believe in her daughter, but she couldn't trust Eric. After a few encounters, it became clear to her that this kid was definitely a hungry ghost, and he would not eat the fat that came to his mouth. Seeing Lu Xiaoli looking stalked, Eric walked between the two. All right, let's go first. I'll explain to your mother. Lu Yifei looked at him with some hesitation, and Eric nodded at the little girl. Leave it to me. There are some things that relatives can't explain. Don't worry. I can take care of everything. Seeing that her daughter was leaving, Lu Xiaoli immediately stretched out her hand to stop her, but was grabbed by Eric, and Lu Yifei took the opportunity to sneak out of the room. What are you doing? Let go of me. Let go of me, Eric Cooper, you little bastard. I couldn't hear Lu Yifei's footsteps, and I was sure that she had gone away. Eric suddenly showed a demonic smile. Bastard, are you scolding me? Just scold you. You're not a bastard. There are no bastards in the world. If you want it, I'll forget it. I still want Fei Fei. She's only 17 years old, and she's not an adult yet. How can you do it? Lu Xiaoli, we have said it several times. We have done nothing. Don't challenge my patience. You're going to do nothing, fool. Smack. A slap was thrown on Lu Xiaoli's face, although it was not heavy, but it still blinded the other party. Lu Xiaoli covered her face with one hand and looked at Eric in a daze, as if she couldn't believe that the other party dared to hit her. Then she felt a force coming, and she couldn't help but staggered back a few steps, and one of them fell on the bed without standing firmly. Eric untied, and if her daughter didn't finish it, she would replace it with you, the mother, who asked you to interrupt halfway. Lu Xiaoli just wanted to get up too late. The whole person was suppressed and couldn't move. No matter how she cursed and kicked to resist, it was useless, and she was quickly stripped clean. Don't you believe we didn't do anything? What? You see, I'm still doing it. Hearing this, Lu Xiaoli subconsciously touched it and found that it was really dry. Am I wrong to blame them? She thought to herself. But it's going to get wet soon. Ah, Eric Cooper, you're a bastard. See, you make me red, swollen, sore and sore. You're going to rape you. Believe it or not, I called the police and arrested you. Eric smiled. Arrest me? Of course it's serious. Believe it or not, I'll call now. Eric took his phone and threw it to her. Fight. Whatever you want. MGM has a team of dozens of lawyers to play with you. And don't forget, the moment you press the number, Christelle's future is gone, and she could get ahead in Hollywood for the rest of her life. Eric Cooper, do you want to be ashamed? Threaten me with Fei Fei. Lu Xiaoli glared angrily. Eric broke her head and kissed her again. This is the unspoken rule of Hollywood. If you don't want to accept it, you can go. Anyway, it's the same when you return to China. It's a pity that MGM has an A-grade production to start filming, and I've also arranged an important role for Christelle Tisk. Lu Xiaoli's eyes lit up, and she hurriedly asked, Really? In addition to this evil force, are you going to let Fei Fei participate in the movie? Hee, do I need to lie to you? What do you think we are talking about here? I see. I'm sorry, Eric, but I'm too anxious and concerned about Fei Fei to think you're inside. Dirty thoughts. Yes. My thoughts are dirty, am I wrong? Eric suddenly looked at her. I ask you, if I really get along with Christelle, will you object? Lu Xiaoli's face changed, and she asked in a serious tone. Then I ask you, are you going to find a lover, or are you going to find a wife? Does it make a difference? Nonsense, of course there is. Is it necessary to play stupid? She muttered in her heart again. The lover can be sent at any time, and the wife can at least share a lot of money in the divorce, and with Eric Cooper's worth, hundreds of millions of dollars are indispensable. By the way, I have something to say to you. What? Didn't you see my cousin last summer? She worked at the Hazender Theater, remember? Eric nodded, motioning for her to continue. My cousin said that you sent someone to investigate, but there was no follow-up after that. What do you think of that proposal? The acquisition of the Hazender Theater? Yes, when Cheong asked me to ask you about your attitude. She was pretending to be an identity at the time, and I knew exactly what she was thinking, and I deliberately hung her out. Now that MGM has been successfully listed, it makes sense to expand its territory, and movies such as Legally Blonde, Frozen, and Adele's Life are also suitable for adaptation into stage plays. And what do you mean? How is the relationship between your sisters? Lu Xiaoli glanced at him and bowed down obediently. After being blown up by Lu Xiaoli, it was another hour of fierce fighting, and Eric let go of this old lady, and when she left, her posture was deformed, and the waiter who watched snickered. For this woman, he has long figured out the character. Lu Xiaoli's willingness to protect her daughter is true, and she can sacrifice herself for this. But mercenary is also true. As long as she takes out a piece of meat and hangs it, she will not hesitate to take the bait. And Lu Xiaoli's own level is actually not high. Her vision is good, her IQ and EQ are very average, and the only thing that stands out is her figure and face. It's not too easy to deal with someone like her. Just take out a peach and hang it there, and she will try to jump up and pick it herself. Her ferocity is limited to her mouth and expression, but she lacks fangs and claws. In other words, she has no strength to build a base. Even if you are slammed in the end, you can only swallow this breath, Otherwise, what else can you do? Eric is already a very reasonable player, helping Liu Yifei plan for the future. Which boss will do this? If you look at Weinstein, I don't know how many actors have slept on the red sofa, and how many of them can get really good roles. As for Liu Yifei, since she has started, the little girl has no objection. She can't sleep this time. Just find a chance to sleep again. The Olsen sisters can share the same bed, and the two can comfort each other and perform for Eric to enjoy, and there may not be no hope of transferring mother and daughter to the same bed in the future. They have been in the United States for so many years, and their minds have been somewhat tainted. As for Zhou Wenxiong's Hudson Theater, buying it is also a good deal. Disney has been acquiring theaters since the year before last, and has begun the layout of stage plays and dramas, and it is not too late for MGM to start catching up. It's just that Zhou Wenxiong's deception made Eric very unhappy, and he had to teach her a lesson. On February 17th, today is the day of the finals of the recording of The Voice of America, and Eric gave a notice in advance, and Eric came forward to cheer for it. In the car, he watched the box office situation this week. The Lord of the Rings 3 continues to gallop in theaters around the world, and the box office has exceeded $1 billion. The Knights of Middle-earth defeated the Transformers and officially became the global box office champion in 2003, and the box office numbers are still growing. Sharknado 2 has been drawn around the world, and only 22 countries have been landed overseas, which is the narrowest distribution channel among MGM's grossing films. In the end, North America won $131 million, and the box office was basically the same as in 2002, and the ceiling was here. Overseas earned $43 million, a few more countries, and the box office was millions of dollars higher, but the gap with North America was very obvious. Foreign audiences still don't like this, or they don't want to spend money to go into the cinema for a bad movie. This kind of movie can be rented on DVD to watch. In 2002, Sharknado 1 ranked 18th in the North American box office, and Sharknado 2 was squeezed out of the 30th place in 2003, which proves that the film market is booming. Adele's Life and The Devil are still being screened on a small scale. The former has already cut $256 million at the global box office, a veritable super dark horse, and it is also a super dark horse with both business and art, and the box office of the latter is not necessary to mention. The reason why the two movies are not painted now is mainly for the promotion of the Oscars in the near future, and in more than a week, this annual film and television festival will be held. Therefore, Ashley, Mary, and Theron are now busy attending various ceremonies and activities every day to make their presence felt, and they can't even take care of Eric's needs, and the outside world is generally optimistic that the actress will decide among the three of them. Saw 2 continues to reap the box office, and The Hangover, MGM's only film released in February, is also coming. Ryan Reynolds is really busy right now, and he hasn't taken a vacation for 4 months since the release of Transformers in mid-November last year. But if you ask him if he wants to, the little will definitely nod his head busily. He has tasted the pain of being silent for 10 years and no one asks. Even if he is busy, he will be willing. The other day, Eric held a family party as usual, and both he and Chris Evans said they had received a lot of film offers. 20th Century Fox plans to start filming Fantastic Four and invites the two to audition for roles as Mr. Fantastic and Thunderbolt. Warner Brothers hired Steven Soderbergh to prepare for the filming of the sequel to Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, which has always been full of big names, and this time also threw an olive branch to the two. Warner is also preparing to reboot Batman and also invited the two to audition for the first detective and other roles in the comics. But both of them have concerns. They both have contracts for Transformers 2, as well as The Hangover 2, which is likely to start filming, and Captain America, which is in preparation, and are worried that the schedule will conflict. Eric asked them to go to the audition boldly, and they were really selected, and it was not too late to negotiate the schedule, Anyway, the superhero blockbuster will be filmed in 3 months at most. You don't feel tired of work, and then go to other groups after filming. He is not the kind of boss who restricts the development of his subordinates. In addition to the two of them, the other Xiaocheng who were praised also got very good resources from the market and were promoted to competitive Xiaohua Xiaosheng. Both Ashley and Mary received audition invitations for Invisible Woman in Fantastic Four, as well as voice calls for the Chronicles of Narnia. Godot also received an audition invitation for the Invisible Woman in Fantastic Four and an invitation to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The British trio got an audition invitation for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire together, and they all said that British actors who had not acted in Harry Potter were not good actors, and now the three got their chance. Even Evangeline Lilly, a girl who made her debut on the big screen, also won the market with her wonderful performance in Hold Your Breath, was recognized and got audition invitations for movies such as 50 First Loves and Blade 3. Many people realize that starring in MGM movies is really popular, especially the first-class ability of newcomers. Boss, this is the report of the last inspection. Co-pilot Chen Xing handed over the report of the visit to the Hudson Theater some time ago. Eric didn't care much about it, and he hadn't read it. He simply flipped it over and threw it aside. The time distance is too long. You can talk about it. Okay, it's such a boss. The general situation is similar to what Zhou Wenqiong said. Mrs. Valentine, the owner of the Hudson Theater, really wants to sell the Grand Theater. She's been around the idea for a long time, but no one has ever wanted to take it because it's not a small theater, and it's the second largest on Broadway. The size of the area meant that it was expensive, and the equipment inside was outdated and had to be extensively renovated when it was taken over. I estimated that the cost of the renovation would not be less than $15 million, and the cost of buying the theater would probably not be less than $50 million. Then I calculated the revenue based on the average ticket price, attendance, number of performances, and so on. If the company does buy Hudson Theater, it will take about 1.5 to 2 years to recoup the cost, and this is under the premise that the business is in good condition. If you only think about it from a revenue perspective, to be honest, this may not necessarily be a good deal. After hearing him only say half a sentence, Eric motioned for him to finish. Of course, boss, the development of the company must not be purely from the perspective of money. Making money is the ultimate goal, but there are many ways. Entering Broadway can bring a lot of indirect benefits, such as the influence of IP will be further expanded, and it will naturally be more convenient to sell peripheral products after expansion. And I also looked into the data when Disney chose to enter Broadway. Hearing Mickey Mouse, Eric suddenly became interested. Tell me, what data? Disney chose to buy the Amsterdam Bolshoi Theater and announced a high-profile adaptation of its classic film and television, and its stock price rose 4.1%. And judging from the business situation in the past few years, it is indeed a good move, and even Finding Nemo has embarked on the road of stage adaptation, and it will be released soon. If it's a good move, why don't other film and television companies follow suit? Eric asked. Because their leaders are not as bold and visionary as Disney, and they don't have as many IPs for all ages that Disney can develop. So, what do you think MGM should do? Chen Xing has already organized the language. I think we should take the road of Disney. Boss, 1.5 years has proved that you have a vision far beyond ordinary people, and we can continue to create high-quality IP. Double Star Entertainment has the ability to process in-house, Hasbro, and we are also in the honeymoon period. The situation is very good. With the blessing of Broadway, we will finally get the benefits far more than the cost. Eric smiled. Chen Xing, you have grown up very quickly. You have learned to think about one thing as a whole. Are you interested in exercising in several departments? Is that okay? Chen Xing asked hesitantly. It mainly depends on your wishes. Your service makes me feel very comfortable, but if you want to grow more comprehensively, you should go to more positions to learn and exercise. The driver. Peter opened his mouth and said, "Go Chen, the boss is cultivating you, unless you want to be a secretary for the rest of your life." Chun Xing immediately nodded. "Thank you, boss. I will listen to your arrangement." "Well, I've been looking for a new secretary recently. You can take him for a while, and when you're familiar with the work, you can go to the new post to report. Your personality is relatively reserved and shy, so let's put it aside in the departments of personnel, finance, marketing, and public relations and go to production. In addition, we will strengthen communication with the Hudson Theater to try to win the theater at the lowest price, and then make an appointment to sign the contract." "Okay, boss. There is a saying in the workplace, that is, there must be a movement in the 2-year position or salary. If not, it is better to change jobs quickly, of course, provided that you work hard." Chun Xing's work attitude is very positive, and he has been conscientious for a year and a half, and it is time to give him a move. Wait for a transfer in several departments. It is best to leave the school in 3 years, and then go to Huaxia to change Susan back. It is too unkind to let the family live in 2 places for a long time. The voice was recorded live. Eric was led to the lounge by the staff, and it was not yet official recording time, and the 4 instructors were accompanying their respective players to adjust their status. "How are players and mentors separated?" Eric asked. The staff hurriedly explained. "My buckle chose Bruno Mars, Jays and Seren were in a group, Jenny and Katy Perry were in a group, and Celine Dion chose the little girl Taylor Swift. As we walked, we came to the first practice room, and through the door I could hear the singing inside. Looks like we made it. Look how far we've come, my baby. We mighta took the long way. We knew we'd get there someday. Boss, this is Celine Dion and Taylor Swift's practice room." Eric nodded, and instead of knocking on the door in a hurry, he stood outside the door and listened attentively. The song they sang was the song of Canadian country music diva Shania Twain, and at the beginning Eric was still struggling with who to choose for the last female singer, and Shania Twain was also one of the candidates. However, in the end, considering the popularity and schedule, I still chose Celine Dion, even if the sketch diva is more expensive. Now the two are singing Shania's representative songs in the finals, which can be regarded as a kind of fate. Suddenly, the singing stopped abruptly, and then Celine Dion was heard saying, "It's good, Taylor, but don't be too deliberate about the technique. Your voice is not fully developed and you are weak in terms of skill relative to our opponents, so fully mobilize your emotions. Imagining ourselves into the mood of the lyrics is the key to our success." "Okay, teacher." Knock. Knock. Hearing a knock on the door, Celine Dion said, "Please come in," and then saw a young and handsome, beautiful man walk in. This face is too familiar to her, even if it is the first time for the two to officially meet. This angular and handsome face has long been imprinted in the depths of her mind. Because at the recent Grammy Awards, she saw Eric come on stage and take away a golden gramophone. A layman's first song helped Michael Jackson win the annual award, and these insiders may only be able to pursue it in their dreams for decades, and who will not be confused after watching it. Of course, the Grammys were just a vignette, and what really made Eric's name spread throughout the music industry was the establishment of May Records. When the company's shareholding structure was dug up, especially the cooperation between May Records and YouTube, the creation of a good voice almost pointed the finger at Eric. He was the one who helped Michael Jackson get rid of Sony, and without him planning all this behind his back, Sony would never have been forced to compromise. So indirectly, Eric is also half of Celine Dion's boss. Because my co holds half of her copyright, the income obtained by my co will be divided equally with Eric, which is equivalent to Celine Dion working for Eric. However, this time, the remuneration of the voice does not belong to the cost of the song, and it does not need to be shared with others. So when she received the invitation, she couldn't be happier. The old lady helped you work for free, and this time she had to knock a hard shot. "Hello, Sty. Nice to meet you. I'm also glad that you're as handsome as a web shot, Eric." Ha 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 ha, you're pretty too. But I know that complimenting a singer on a song is the best compliment, and I have to say, My Heart Will Go On is so good. I've listened to it more than 100 times. Celine Dion rolled her eyes. OMG. It's it again. Since the Titanic was released, everyone no longer remembers my other songs. It's all Cameron's fault, right? Yes, it's all Cameron. Celine Dion's personality is known for her humor, her ability to joke, and her communication is very comfortable and smooth. After the two chatted for a while, Eric's eyes turned to the blonde chick next to him. Wavy curls, shawl hair, black eyeliner, and small red lips. The height is about 170, and the development is quite mature. The practice room was very warm, and through the not very thick thread. Eric's mind couldn't help but think of Ao May's face. How could there be such a difference in the speed of development? Hello, boss, Taylor Swift. This child is good, not afraid of birth.